All right, so the following is a giant vlog. I think it's like 19 minutes. I'm definitely going to do a part two because the day is, at the AM and we need a PM. We're going to do AM and PM vlog. I think that sounds the best way to put two and two together. But in any case, I just want to make a note that it rants about Egypt. It rants about gravestones, all these things. The impetus is timelessness, and Hollywood, how it's battered out, is left salt in my mouth because I only saw one movie last year, Napoleon, and I don't really feel like seeing that many more movies because how Disney bought up Star Wars and Marvel. What's more important to me is these kids, they're getting thrown off, and I understand it because in the bathroom, the urinals, they've got one up high and one down low for kids. It's that, and this just verified it, 2 kids inside. I feel like I'm at college when I'm in a library, and then kids walk in. They go down the stairs, and one kid is thrown off. He says, wait, because his mom's going downstairs. So, like with ease. And then, of course, he meets the first step, and it's all of a sudden, wait. And so then the second kid, moments later, goes and they start talking in a really high-pitched voice as if something drastic just changed and they need to focus again because the adult had gone right ahead because stairs they know are stairs, their legs are longer. The kid with legs half as long is making a big deal out of the stairs, and it was so funny because it was actually occurring in this format of raising your voice and making note to make note that these stairs are an issue. Okay, so yeah, and the rest is just rants that are timeless if you understand the impetus. I'll put the conclusion at the front because it's a hypothesis. All right, so if you didn't know, I'm part of a club, and it's kind of a big thing because I never had been. But one thing I saw inside was something I never had saw before, and it was not that I was a part of it, but nevertheless I couldn't help but to see it. That's the teaser. Hold that for a second. All right, so this morning I've gone to a grocery store, which is retail, and then a library, and in these 2 places where I've been in for under 10 minutes, I've heard noises that you've only heard at zoos, and they've both been from kids. And it wasn't that there was a problem, it's just they're making it and it's way too early. Separately, when you're in front of flowers that have been painted, you have to say something that's sentimental. And it wasn't that I lost someone in the road or 2 people. So deliberating from that, or I mean, not depreciating, what do they say? Not delegate, not deliberate, what is the word? This is what I couldn't remember the other day. The word virtue. But when they say and then as if like tomorrow I'll remember the word twice as easy because the day after I couldn't remember the word virtue yesterday on the Ave. Today I can't remember digress. So I digress. This is why the Egyptians were timeless, was they had hieroglyphics for one, but their hieroglyphics were also backed up with their having motions. And so if you have never seen at the airport air traffic patrol or police when they're in the traffic and they're doing traffic patrol with white gloves and a whistle, or at the airport they have flashlights and cones attached to the flashlights, then you've never known the similarity to how the Egyptians were renowned. And many people are at odds as if the Egyptians were more fantastic than any society in history. And if you've never seen Wisconsin's birds or bird watching, they're the best in the Midwest, and the dragonflies included are hype AF. You do not mess with the Wisconsin Blue Jay. But the impetus behind what the Egyptians had going with them, the hieroglyphics, they were backed up with all these motions that they had. And it's just choreography. If you look at Michael Jackson, he has timeless choreography. In sync, they had this thing where they do the chest bump up and down. And even in Japan, you see artists such as Yasu and Tommy Heavenly, aka Tommy February, doing that in sync chest bump. And it's already been verified in a choreography of NSYNC as timeless. So, nevertheless, this is what the Egyptians did with their hieroglyphics. They backed it with these motions that they did that were timeless, and they had this a few props to go with them. And so, when they're doing these things, it's no surprise that it's applied across the board. So when I'm talking about all these different rants, it's applied to aquatics and detox, which is from inland to submarine, sub terrain. At some point, it's just solid structures to things that are liquefied, which are mobile because they're in motion. Anything not a solid structure is prone to being mobile because it's more chaotic, so it has motion. So from liquid to gas, is a giant jump. And if you can wrap your head around one of the three, that's how you can have a notion of what time is. And things that are timeless, I just did a rant with like 4 different ones. No, I take that back. I've gone to 3 places: McDonald's, a grocery store which I call retail, and then a library. So there wasn't any kid noises in McDonald's. The impetus of this correlation is that wait for it. In relating things that aren't real, you would think that that's nonsensical, but it could be used as the understanding of what consciousness has. This entire realm of psyche and then psychosis is like allergies. I fancy allergies as like an attuned sensation that as a kid I didn't like pickles. As an adult, pickles aren't that bad. So a person who has allergies, you have to just look at the origin of when you were born. If you're born allergic to everything in life, you might live in a bubble. And it wasn't a person last week, aka 2 days ago, who told me that I should be put in a bubble because I ran into a handicap sign. Nevertheless, an allergen, its solution is inflation, inflaming the body. So it's irritating. And that is really, if you break it down, a crystallization of anything that is trying to detox. And things that are trying to detox are something that is when you're hit with a downside, a negative, but positive and negative. It's so funny. I saw an interview online of Hulk Hogan. He was trying to explain negative and positive, how they attract, but he said negative and negative. And I understood what he was saying, but on paper it was inaccurate. But what he was getting at is 2 wrongs don't make a right. So in a zero-sum game, if you want a 360, you win. You do have to note that you're not dead yet. So this is what Hulk Hogan was trying to explain in this interview with the double negative, even though that equals a positive. Aside from magnetics, it's that detoxification is definitely a thing that you can find in river bends. and not inside aquatic life. And lastly, it's these trees in island, these island trees. I saw it in a book, so that's where you know it's verified, where they actually do move. Now, trees classically are rooted in ground so that they're stable structures, but I saw it in a book, so it's unmistakable that there are some trees in island environments that move literally, so they're mobile. And this is in conjunction with bridges that are not supposed to move because they're stable structures, so that their um, standstills would be of a prone position as opposed to a bent one, which would imply mobility. So it's these trees' roots on islands. I didn't read how they move, but I know that if they were moving, their roots would have to be uprooted, and they're already bent as is. So you can just put two and two together, and it would probably look like a squid moving on a ship, but it's a tree moving on an island. Put two and two together. One of the more interesting things that I found in theater, and when I say theater, I'm including the movie theaters, is that there was this one movie that was called Aquatic Life with one of the Wilson brothers, Owen Wilson, more famous than his brother, the other Wilson. In any case, he was with Bill Maher inside this movie called Aquatic Life. And I thought this was the most staple hallmark of Hollywood. This movie called The Life Aquatic, and it was this movie in cinema. And if you never went to Blockbuster or a video store in the 90s, it's that you could buy movie posters after these movies had ran their time out. You know, when the hourglass runs and then you turn it over, the movies in the movie theater, their hourglass, they would run out of sand. So then of course, movie stores who sold VHSs or DVDs would then not promote the movies in the theaters that dropped down into VHS and DVD. Their time lapse, they would be selling the posters of the new releases. And The Life Aquatic is a staple of a Hollywood hallmark of a movie that you would want a movie poster. This would have been one of them. But for The Life Aquatic, it's explained as something different than above ground because water is the surface at ground level, but The Life Aquatic, the whole movie, would be going in submarine territory. And when you're talking about terrain, it's no different than above ground. But in this movie, Life Aquatic, it's no surprise that I didn't even watch the movie, but I saw the teaser going underwater. So it's aquatic, submarine, you know, the marina in reference of docking. It's going under the dock. And that's where trolls are. Trolls classically are under bridges, but if you're referencing a movie that has to do with aquatics, it would be underwater or it would be under a dock. The difference between a dock and the bridge are just the difference of what is land to water. One has buoys, the other depends on stable structures for it to be set proper. And we just saw on the Ave my example, excuse me, wait for it, of what a thing in motion is versus a stable structure. You would want, if you're building a bridge, a stable structure because you do not want it to be moving. Side note, bridges during the winter time, and I found this out so it's verified by the DMV. If you can verify anything from the DMV, then it's super official, aka certified. That bridges during winter time, if there's any motion, there is some during the winter time on bridges. And this was a question at the DMV. They said that the bridges, this will get more clicks. Oh shoot, this guy, he's got totes. Totes are like gravestones. You don't want to go near them. You need to upgrade the totes for something better, like boxes of a consumer item that you would support more because they're lower end than that. Rewind that and let that soak in, but for all purposes, intentional. Shoot, you lost a tangent. What was I just about to imply? Shit. Was important. The totes threw me with the graveyard reference. That was a killer aspect. A tote is equal to a gravestone because they're so non-essential. That's what a non-essential thing is. You want, instead of a tote, a box of a consumer item that you buy in bulk. And you can use a dolly to do that. Second. Look at the stretch with the legs forward, but it's this decline because it's a decline. And so this is one of the things that I was trying to do earlier, but it's really uncomfortable, and it's even more uncomfortable if you're doing it really close to the road, because anyone knows the one place that you don't park is in the middle of the road. Side note, my pet peeve is spray paint when it's not supposed to be in a placement, because things that collect would be things that are hazardous. They collect. If you don't know what detoxification is, it's when something bad leaves an area and it goes to a different one. And if you've never been a product of some kind of thing that had been negative, you might not know what detoxifying actually is. But there's nevertheless. And I'm not pointing fingers because I have three pointing back at me, because there's spray paint, there also can be paint not made with toxins. Paint originally came from the Indians, which had colorful plants which they smushed, and this would be equivalent to, I don't know, spray paint. But nevertheless the case. In this club, it was this person, they pulled up their shirt and it was a female. And if a male did this, I would call him gay. You know, I don't know. But it was a thing where it actually occurred, and it was then the pause, and they're just waiting to get some sort of reaction. So I thought in my head the dialogue that probably prescribed in order to have that event take place was, I'm going into the Olympics, and this is a big thing for me, and I've been training, and I'm going to be doing the swimming event, and I don't know what to wear. And then you flip up your shirt and show your female, your aqua wear. And this would be one reason why that would have occurred inside of a club. And it's really astonishing with like bikes and stuff. If you have a bike and you lose it, or a cell phone, anything that you lose and it's worth more than 2 cents. Side note, adults, if you don't have $20, it's a pretty bad. So once you do, it's definitely a good thing. But if you lose something like a bike or a phone, they're saying write your name in it. At bare minimum, if you don't write your name and stuff, have a sticker, something that's easy to detect. So when in a lost and found, you can tell them it had a red sticker and a red strap on it. And this is one thing. This is the other thing. People who wait and they're just watching to see what's happening. And I know it's that I'm like an interesting person. Not really. I average one view if it's good. And so, but no, everyone outside of the internet is, it's always that they would stall and wait for the reaction. It's no surprise that when people do this, they're so used to doing it, they've done it 1,000 times. And so I noticed this at breaks in the road when people um, would break in the road for no reason inside the middle of the road. That's the one that is most tantalizing because I've lost friends in these streets. So there's that, and then it's the people who just pull up and they wait on an entrance or an exit, and they'll just idle there. This one guy idling with your car and the exhaust coming out, where you don't want to idle, is right next to a stairwell, because people use stairs as a chair. I understand it's better than a curb, but to have a car idling with its tailpipe in front of a stairwell, if I'm in a car, it's not going to be with gas piling out if the car isn't moving. Because I know if you're in a prone position, you want to have a stable structure. This meaning your leg to be straight as opposed to it being bent. If it's bent, it means that you're ready to go in motion. If it's straight, it means that you're having a stable structure.